Yeah. But I don't mind it.
We're just waiting for the Zoom to reboot.
So. All right, you're good.
Okay. A big crowd. Thanks for coming tonight. Can you do a roll call? Amy?
Certainly. Mr. Silva,
Here.
Mr. Guy,
Yeah.
Mr. Winterhalter,
Here.
Mr. Evans,
Here.
Mr. Edwards. Ms. McGowan,
Here.
Township Engineer and Zoning Officer are also present.
Thank you. So first we'll do a moment of silence and then we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do we have any comments on the agenda? Anybody?
Looks good.
Public's okay. Start out with the minutes. We have minutes from our August 22nd meeting. Do we have any comments or a motion to approve?
Motion to approve. Second.
All in favor of approving the minutes, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Minutes are approved. First up, we have 4019 West Chester Pike.
Members of the commission. Make my introduction. Tonight's review is basically a follow-up to the discussions we had at the meeting in July. Since then, our engineer has made the appropriate revisions for the comments of the township engineers. And he is basically here this evening to address those comments. It's primarily deals with the stormwater management. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to him and try to get through it quickly.
Good evening, members of the board. Thank you again for meeting with us. As been said, we are here tonight on behalf of RDF Enterprises to seek a recommendation for conditional approval for the parking class parking structure that we were here to present last month. If you'll remember last month's meeting, there was a recently issued comment letter related to stormwater management. Prior to that meeting, we did look at the design that we had prepared originally, modified it, and what you see before you here tonight is that revised stormwater management approach. To date, we are proposing an underground infiltration basin. Let's start again here. Sorry. The comments that we received in the September 23rd letter, mainly from Pannoni Associates, are technical in nature, mostly related to stormwater design calculations and inconsistencies within the report and plans. They're perfunctory. I would classify them as minor in nature. We would expect to work through the remaining comments with the technical staff at the township with the recommendation of approval for tonight. I'm happy to go through any of the comments that you have, but like I said, I would say that most of them are related to stormwater management. So I can walk through the design if you'd like, or just open the floor to you guys.
Are there a couple that were stickier than the others that maybe you want to address? I mean, because what you're looking for us to do is kind of assume you folks are going to work it out.
Yes,
Will
that is
comply.
Right. So if it's not a just straight will comply, I'm wondering if there's a few that maybe you want to touch on if you have some different views.
So they're actually all will comply comments.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't have any concerns about being able to comply with each of the ones that are listed. The only one that I might touch on is comment 18. We may be looking for a waiver of storm pipe size. The township requires a minimum of 15 inches. There are a couple of yard drains that we're proposing that don't require 15-inch pipes. We could do with a 12 or an 8. So that may be a waiver that we would be looking to, I guess, get conditionally granted this evening. But other than that, as it relates to the stormwater design itself, we have no questions or concerns about addressing the comments that were issued.
What about the infiltration testing? I think last time you didn't have that.
Correct, and we still don't. We will need to order the infiltration testing during construction. Our approach at this point is to use the geotechnical data that we have for the adjacent property, which was completed in recent years. We feel that the adjacent property is likely to have similar geotechnical characteristics. So we're utilizing the information on a design basis today to justify our stormwater management approach for this property. Given the proximity of the adjacent parcel of stormwater basin, we're talking 50 feet away. So we would expect similar characteristics of the subsoil. If at such a time when the testing occurs, we cannot replicate those assumed rates, we would have to work with the technical staff to get an MRC basin design approved if infiltration is deemed not feasible.
But in the meantime, you are in the process of applying for the NPDS, right?
There is an active NPDS permit for this property that comprises this lot, the portion of the main line lot, and the residential property to the north. So we would be actually looking for a major modification under that permit.
All right. Okay with you, Eric?
Yes, as kind of alluding to, the majority of the comments or under the first plan, they had come forth with a green roof based concept, which ultimately was not going to be feasible. So really, there's a lot of stormwater comments, but really you can consider that to be like a first review of the stormwater. And he's right there. It is all technical data specifics of the report, and even to the rate. They are operating on the assumption of a 0.1 inches per hour. So everything is based on a very de minimis rate. So all of those comments should be addressed, and then I would just state I would also be supportive of their requesting the combined preliminary final plan waiver and a reduction of the pipe size as I just described. That would be acceptable to me.
Those are just the two waivers.
I think, so it looks like they submitted the letter.
Yep.
Requesting preliminary final, I guess, if you're so inclined, I could be supportive of the 15-inch pipe minimum requirement as a waiver as well.
Are you proposing 12? What side are you, it just says smaller, so I'm just curious.
Just a small, yeah. So there are 2 yard drains that we're proposing that would be 12-inch. Yeah.
And the pipes will be made of what? The 12-inch
The
pipe?
12-inch pipes would be HDPE. Yeah.
And you're okay with that, Eric?
I am, yes.
We'll have public comment after we kind of finish. Let's go to public comment. Please. Can you
Excuse me.
go up to the podium? We need your name and address for our record. Oh.
Hi, I'm Christopher Roner. I'm a resident of Newtown Township. Are you with Benoni Engineers?
I think you need his address first for the.
Yeah, can I get your address? We need your address for the records.
3731 Gradyville Road, Newtown Square. Anything else you need from me?
Nope.
Resident for 45 years?
Yes.
You are. So you made the comments originally and you've reviewed the drawings and you've approved them?
Well, I've issued a review letter on the plan, which is what.
So you accept all the comments that or all the changes that they've made?
We have a review letter on the plan, which is what they are working. They have submitted a plan, and we have a review letter based on some outstanding comments, and any advancement of the plan is going to have to satisfy all the review comments.
So the plans were approved, the revised plans were approved?
No.
No,
No,
Oh, well, what are we here for then?
You do. To
the
consider.
the
Going through the
planning commission
process.
doesn't approve
I'm sorry,
anything, we make recommendations.
Okay. All right, so recommendations would be based on his comments?
What's your question, sir?
yeah, this is
The
a,
question
this
of
is a,
board.
this is a public comment, not public
I understand
question
that.
and answer.
Have all the comments been satisfied?
We're reviewing that. That's the process
So
where
what are you voting on tonight?
we may vote on recommending that this development move forward as planned, or possibly vote against recommending that it, but that's what we recommend, and then the supervisors.
Yeah, my question was just whether they complied to the comments of Pinoni.
So
that was
any
my question.
I can tell you that it is all like, it's most likely that this board would, if they were to approve this plan as submitted, would say, we'll approve the plan subject to compliance of performing all the requirements outlined in the engineer's
your
review
question.
letter.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is there any other public comment?
Good evening, Sheila O'Sullivan Beanie, EAC Chair, 120 Beechwood Road, Newtown Square, PA. Thank you, first of all, for the changes that you made to your plan. We really appreciate it. I just want to comment on the EAC letter that's dated September 22nd, and I don't know if that was included in your packet. We just want clarification because the plans that we received, it appears that the parking spaces are still provided in front, but although we understand they have been removed, can you just confirm they have been removed? Yeah, all right. Another question is that we're asking you to use natural fiber matting for erosion control and turf establishment, and to avoid the use of plastic-based materials, microplastic into our water system for your bedding in all your areas that you're putting down, any type of grass beds or anything of that nature.
So our design will have to comply with the composition of the measurement.
Okay.
Certainly specified as requested, but we're open. Required.
Another comment from the EAC that we're not sure if your arbor saw, some of the tree species that you've selected for your front have very low salt tolerance, and because of location of West Chester Pike and your parking lot, can you just take a look at those species? We wanted native, but you have some high salt issues in that area, so if you could take a look at those tree species, just double check those and make sure they're okay. Okay, because we found two of them in particular are very susceptible to salt. In addition, we're asking you to clarify the situation of your trees. Along where you have your Ferrari, you have a notation on your landscape plans of, I think, 8 or 9 trees that are quote as existing. As of last Thursday, there were no trees on that property line, even though they're included in your landscape plan. We'd like some clarity on that, please.
Or base map was prepared as a survey some time ago. I don't know the exact date at the time that base map, that those trees were in place.
Okay.
So if they're no longer there.
Well, the question is, and I think you need to go back to check your plans when you submitted your plans for the Ferrari dealership, because those trees were on the Ferrari side when you submitted that plan. So we'd like some clarity on that as well, please. Because in my eyes, you look like you counted them twice. So I just want to know where the trees are, put the trees in the design, because they were there with the Ferrari dealership when you submitted them last March. They're on your plans that you submitted to us, and the latest plans are showing, and you're showing them as existing trees. So let's just put them back then as existing, please.
Well, if they're on the Ferrari lot and they're not,
They're on the Ferrari lot plans, but they're not on the Ferrari lot property today. They're not on the new property either. So
I'm sorry, I don't, could you clarify what you're asking?
these trees seem to have magical powers. They've moved between property lines. So in your Ferrari plans, they were listed as existing trees. They were not listed on the property side where you're putting the parking plaza. Now they're listed as existing trees on the parking lot plaza. We just want clarification because there are no trees on either side of that property line. The front of the property all along where the parking lot. Yeah, no, no. If you look at perpendicular to your new parking lot garage, all along there, and if you'll see it's on your landscaping design, and it shows as existing trees, and we've noticed that. Yeah, we
wasn't their road. So would you like trees replaced on that property line?
yes, please.
It's capable.
Okay,
before replacing it.
well, they are in your calculations and we use them for stormwater management, so, perfect, okay.
So, yeah, that's easy.
These are easy, but all, yeah, well, listen, delivery on word is very important, so we're gonna be checking on these things. Okay.
Where's your cop?
Oh, Paul was coming. And we really appreciate you planting the native trees. We did ask that your plan does not add vegetation in the northeast corner. Remember, if we recall, the property in the back, which is the last corner that's in the residential zone.
Right.
We talked about sound and buffering for the
Yeah.
neighbors, and we had discussed that you were gonna add evergreens back there.
Right.
That has not happened.
Oh, that's.
I know,
Residential plan.
I know, but you told me you were gonna have that added in it. Okay,
Added to the plan.
we'd
Are
like
we
that.
wrapping up soon?
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, these are all the things that they promised, and we're just making sure that they hold themselves accountable because
Do you submit a report to the
Yes.
township?
we did. September 22nd, and this was also August. So, and also the other question is,
We didn't get a copy of that report,
okay.
so we need to see that.
And in front, we're asking you to increase low grow, low maintenance grasses instead of the grass area that you have over the infiltration bed. And it will be a win for you, low maintenance. All right, great. I think we're good. Thank you very much. Thanks for making those changes noted.
And Andy, can you make whoever gets their report, make sure it gets circulated? It would just be more efficient to be, are there any issues rather than
Yeah.
going
The
through?
EAC's report goes directly to the board agenda. We had a little bit of this conversation several months back on another project. And to eliminate a lot of confusion, each individual committee is a recommending body to the board, just like you are.
Well, then,
So their comments are being directed right to the board's agenda.
and I'm just saying, make sure they've got it, the applicant has it, so that they
Yes.
don't have to read their whole list, they can have a conversation, we'll comply, and then we're off to the.
The other matter that we're trying to deal with is that some of the comments are affecting the shade tree committee, so we have to get those comments to them in order to have a cohesive plan when it's presented to the board.
So,
But we will certainly share it with the applicant.
We got to get the final plan. If this plan. Some
We can certainly share we'll share that tomorrow. Okay?
Yeah, I think that would also help, Andy, if we had that information prior, because I won't want any applicants, whether it's this one or another one, to be viewed in a negative light that they might be removing trees that were on a prior plan. That's certainly not most applicants' intention.
Yeah, I mean, there is some confusion because the Ferrari property did not undergo a land development application. That was a
Correct.
building fit out. And some of that was based upon the original plan. Some of the improvements were made on Ferrari were based on the original land development plan that looked at the whole project, whole site as one project.
any additional public comment? Any more member comments?
Nope.
Would you like to make a motion? You look like you've been busy right there.
Yeah, I have been. I have already on another project. Yeah, already on another.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to move that this commission recommend the approval of the preliminary and final land development plan to demolish an existing building of Parkin Plaza 419 West Chester Pike and construct a 3-story, 18,650 square foot parking structure, subject to the requirements outlined in the Pannoni Engineering Reports review letter dated June 27th and September 23rd. which does include recommending the waiver of the approval through a preliminary and final land development plan at one time. And consistent with the Township Arborist Rockwell Associates letter dated September 17th and the Fire Marshal's letter dated September 12th, 2024. It's my understanding included in the Pannoni letter was a second waiver regarding section 148-43-B related to the reduction of storm drainage pipes from 15 inches to the represented 12 inches. With those conditions, I would move that we recommend this approval.
We have a second?
Second.
All in favor of the proposal, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Or maybe they only get to see that. Next up, we have the development application for Village of Four Seasons.
Evening. Don Petrosa, representing the applicant, Village of Four Seasons, Newtown. This is a simple lot line change. No construction at all is proposed. It's just a question of taking two lots and reconfiguring the two lots. And I'd like to call on Neil Kamens, who is our civil engineer, to review the plan with you and describe exactly what we're proposing. And I also have Nicole DePaton Robinson here, who is the owner's representative.
As Don said, it's not a land development, it's strictly a subdivision. We are moving what today is a 2.75 acre lot with a single house on it. We're then gonna take that line and move it, switch to the other page of the.
Do you have a microphone?
We're moving this lot line that is around this 2.75 acres more towards the middle of the parcel. So this will be 19 acres when we're done. I know this plan has been here for quite a long time. I think over a decade ago, I was here with some different applications. Obviously, none of those things have taken place. The owners have looked at lots of options of what they can do. And we want to move this line to create these parcels so we can come back in the future with a plan that will show what we're proposing and obviously be reviewed both by the planning commission, the township engineer, township staff, and get public comment on that. But at this time, all we're trying to do is move a lot line that'll allow us to come in with something in the future on the smaller side that we're creating.
Why are you considering moving the lot line?
Because the way the zoning ordinance is written, there are certain provisions that make it that we have to do this in multiple steps to accomplish some of the things.
Do what?
Looking. Create some residential lots to match what's in Marple Township.
So you want to move the lot line to create residential lots?
Now, in the future, this plan moves one lot line. We have two lots today. We have 2.75 acres with one house on it,
Yeah,
and we have this larger parcel with no houses on it.
right.
All we want on this plan is to move the lot line, so the lot with one house on it will be 19 acres. And the other lot will be 52.5 acres. That's all we're seeking approval of.
If you were to say, and I don't know legally where this stands, maybe someone could provide some guidance. If you said, hey, we're gonna use this as residential, and you're gonna lock yourself into it, and you are gonna subdivide it, that gives some clarity. If we're gonna approve it, and then you wind up doing something else,
Well, let me say this.
that makes me very
zoning-
uncomfortable.
The zoning today is single family detached residential. That's the only thing allowed on either of these two lots. None of that changes.
So do you have a thought about what you want to
We
do?
do. We want to try to mimic the zoning in Marple Township. And I know we've, through the years, have talked and presented different things that do that. We're thinking about a dozen lots on this side, but I don't have a plan, and the way the zoning is structured, I cannot come to you with a single plan that shows you those lots in one step. But I guess what I'm saying, if this plan is recommended by the planning commission, and then if the board approves it, we cannot do any construction. We can't propose any houses. We can't do anything until we come in with a separate plan and go through the process with the township.
So you have 3 million square feet, just under, on one lot, and 120,000 on the other lot. And you want to create a lot taking from the 3 million square feet, round numbers, to approximately 828,861.
Correct.
It's 16.25 acres.
16.25 is the 3 million square feet?
No, that's what we're moving between the two.
Oh, 16 acres you're moving.
Yes. We're moving right now that.
I think what we're looking for is, why are you moving 16 acres or 15 acres or 14? Why? Just tell us why.
Because everybody knows, we have been in here.
No, everybody does. I don't know.
Well, I'm just saying, I was in this room 10 years ago.
I'm not been
With
here this
various
long.
plans that were not followed through and never achieved approval to build single-family lots of about an acre each. Just roughly speaking, none of those plans were approved. We are still trying to do that. If you look across, this is the township line to Marple. The Village of Four Seasons, what we're thinking of is phase one, exists in Marple Township. They have, I think, 45,000 square foot lots. 40,000, I'm sorry, in Marple. They have a few houses left to build and sell.
Mhm.
We are trying to work through the ordinances in Newtown that are different than in Marple to develop a similar product and come in with a limited size subdivision on this side of the parcel. But we have not finalized what we want to do yet. And we cannot do that at some of the ways we're looking at from a single parcel in a single step.
Have you looked at the possibilities of accessing these proposed lots? On which side?
You mean in the future?
In the
Yes.
future, when you build these so many lots.
I mean, you're showing a road accessing from Bellflower.
In the future, we are thinking we would access them both from Marple Township and from Greenyville Road in Newtown Township.
Are you under the opinion that you can cross that wetland right there at the end of Bellflower? If you move the plan up a little bit, can you push the plan up a bit? Other way. So I think that's all wet. Is that at the end of Bellflower?
That is all that is wetland, and there's waters.
And so are you of the opinion on the code that you can put a
Yes.
road through there?
I believe I can go through there with provisions in the Newtown ordinance and with permits from DEP. But again, none of that is being proposed now, and if I am wrong, if we don't present a plan that the township thinks is worthy to be approved, if there are technical problems, if there are problems with DEP, those will be our problems to solve in the future. I'm not diminishing that. We're not trying to make this crazy or confusing. It's the way the ordinance is written. We don't know what we want to do to the whole parcel. If we don't essentially separate it, we can't do something and come to you with a plan that shows you a small number of lots that we believe complies with the ordinance that we have yet to design, but we would design in a way that complies with the ordinance that we can get approval from the township and from DEP and the Conservation District.
Eric, was there a provision in your review letter that indicated that the purpose of the subdivision is required as part of our code?
No, I just made a general provision that was kind of alluding to if the applicant provides information. That first comment, it was just making a blanket statement that
it's located in the R1, there's a, much smaller lot size. It was mostly looking for more information. It is not actually a provision that they're.
And when I read that, I thought about it, and Mr. Petrosa, my concern is you're almost asking this board to make a recommendation blindly. I mean, if you told me we want to build 8 more houses, 10 more houses, we want to do a land development, okay, I can get that, but
Well,
here.
let me take a step, I understand where you're, let me take a stab at it. I think what Neil said was correct, but the larger piece, lot 1, we don't have a clue what we want to do with that. We're not proposing to do any development on that now. Someday we will come in with something, but I think we're way in the future. On the smaller piece, we do know that we would like to develop it for single-family residential dwellings. So that's what we're attempting. That's the purpose of doing this. But we don't, it doesn't make any sense to come in on a plan that shows 55 acres or whatever's left, 50 acres on the other side that we're not doing anything with. It shouldn't be a lot in a subdivision of regular single-family detached dwelling sizes. So there's no, Eric just pointed to the section which says what uses are permitted in the R1. There's no requirement that you talk about what you're going to do. If I own 50 acres of land and I want to subdivide it into 2 25-acre lots, I can do that without telling anybody what I want to do. There's no question about that, Paul. I mean, you can divide it. If you have 500 acres, you think you have to show how you're going to develop the entire parcel. You don't have to.
So, but Mr. Petrosa.
Yes.
What I don't want to have happen, or I don't think this commission wants to have happen is, okay, we create a 800,000 square foot lot now, 16 acres. And you come back and say, we want 20 acres, which you could absolutely do.
Yeah.
And I don't see any problem with that. It's just,
Well, the point
what
is.
am I missing here? What am I missing here? Because it feels like
No,
we want to just divide it and maybe sometime in the future we'll do something.
No. We want to develop it for single-family detached dwellings in the relatively near future. Okay, the other piece, the larger piece, we really don't know what we want to do with it.
Okay, and I'm not asking you for that. You want to move this, you want to get the 800,000 square foot lot, and you want to do it because you plan to build residential homes. Number, whatever, it doesn't matter.
That's it.
That's what you're going to do.
That's it.
That's today's you might change your mind tomorrow.
Yeah,
That's what you're doing today.
I honestly don't think so, but I mean, you're good, but that's it. That's.
You're not bound by anything.
The proposed use is single-family detached dwellings. That's all it is, and we're trying to do it within the confines of the ordinance as it exists. So, but we've got some options and some work to do, and we don't have a finalized plan yet. But we want to just deal with the portion that we want to develop now. We don't want to deal with the portion that we're. The larger piece is a little more environmentally sensitive. It's got steep slopes. It's got, some other issues, and we're not sure we're really not sure what we're going to do with that. But this piece, we do know that we would like to develop it for about 12 lots right now. That's it. That's the size of the development.
Okay.
Well, because the concern is, this is an awkward lot to be serious about it. Between the shape and the configuration, narrow in a few spaces, you got wetlands. Just want to make sure we don't subdivide into some sort of hardship.
No, I mean, the subdivision is at our choosing. I mean, I think that we would have made our own hardship if we create some hardship based on this subdivision, on the subdivision plan itself. We think we can develop it for about 12 lots, and that's what we're looking to do. But not tonight. Tonight, we're just looking to move a lot line on a piece of paper. That's all we're trying to do. I think what draws your attention is that it's not like moving 50 feet, from one lot to the lot immediately next door. It's a bigger amount. But we're telling you, we do want to do a development for single family residential development.
Right, because I'm looking at a lot of wet lands. If you want 12 lots on 19 acres, it's 1.58 acres per, and you only have, and your minimum is 1.5. And I see a lot of wet that you're not going to be able to it's gonna be an issue. So, I mean, that's just trying to make the numbers line up.
As Neil said, though, that's our issue. If we think.
You
we
may
can
get 10
do
or
it,
9
If we
or-
come in and we get 11 or 10 or, that's our issue. That's not your issue. We'll bring a plan in and the plan will be fully vetted as they always are.
So what was the thought behind putting the division line where it is shown? You didn't give yourself any leeway, any more possible space.
Well, we think this works and we did, there's a little bend there, but that bend lines up with one of the lot lines across the street. It wasn't totally random. It's there's a lot of look at this right here. We're not creating that. That's part of our lot right now. Talk about an irregular shape. I mean, it happens.
Right, no, that's what's my point.
I'm sorry, Kurt.
That was my point, is
Yeah.
it's a difficult lot to develop.
Well,
Looks awkward.
you're gonna get your chance to tell us, when we do come in with plans, they'll get reviewed by Eric, it'll get reviewed by Andy, and we'll have a dialogue.
Don, I have to come, Mr. Petrosa, I have to come back to you. Just why do you need to do this now before you know what you need or what you want? I mean, what am I missing here? I'm missing something. Why are you here today when if you came in with a 12 lot subdivision in an area that's zoned residential, why should there be any problem? You'll have to put trees in, you'll have to put stormwater in, but
One of the issues that Eric raised is the scale of the plants. It's tough enough to put an 18 acre, whatever it is, lot on a plan at the proper scale. But to put a 72 acre, 71 acre lot on there, when you're not touching that part of the property at all, just doesn't make any sense.
Scale is just technicality.
I'm sorry?
The scale is just a technical issue.
Right.
You have a general map and then you have specific.
But we're
maps.
not planning on doing anything on that property. It's remaining vacant property for the time being, and it just doesn't need to be part of the subdivision.
I think
Neil had referenced past history when he was talking earlier.
Yes.
We have past history also on many projects that have been vacant for a while. So I think the "what are we missing" comment kind of ties to that history. What's the big picture here? And you're just moving a lot line. I understand your point, but we're not certain of how we feel about it.
Believe me, we think we can do it. I'm not prepared tonight we don't have the plan fully engineered. We don't want to go over it. We don't want to make this more complicated than it needs to be. There'll be a time for that. There will be a time for that. And we'll come in with a plan and you'll tell us whether it passes muster or not. But all we're trying to do now is to get the area that we want to develop with the property separated from the area that we don't want to develop from the property for some time.
I think what bothers us, what puzzles us is why bother? The whole idea is, you can come at any time with a plan.
What difference does it make? I mean, I understand you're being curious, but what difference does it make? If I've got 50 acres and I want to create 2 25 acre lots, what difference does it make to you?
Whether it's relevant or not, trust.
Never mind that.
Huh?
Never mind that.
Wait, you
Never mind,
decided to
trust.
draw the
No,
line
you're
where
joking.
you
Not-
did
Not in this conversation.
for a reason.
I didn't say
So
that.
I'm in the "what am I missing" camp.
I didn't say we haven't looked at how this property can be developed.
Right.
We have been looking at it and we think it can be developed in this fashion as a result of our looking at it. We
Right.
just don't want to get into all the details of the development when we're just trying to move a lot line on a piece of paper. That's all. We're not, I would hope that, at least I have done a lot of matters here. I don't know how long you've been on the planning commission, but that there is some trust and we're not trying to pull a fast one on anybody.
There's a reason
I do-
why you're here tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want something done.
Let's go to
Good.
comment.
Yeah, do we have a public comment? Reporter wants to go first. Name and address, please. Back up there.
We forgot already, see.
The two-way review. They useless attempt.
Christopher Roner, 3731 Gradyville Road,
Can you tell us where you are on, I assume you're across the street or next door, just so for our.
across the street,
Okay.
directly across the street. So we have, and I've been there for 45 years, we have a really nice neighborhood there. We have, it doesn't show on the plans, but going up both sides of Gradyville Road, all the lots line up in front of each other. And it's been that way for ages now. This side of the road, I believe, is 2 acre zoning. My question is,
I think it's 1.5, 60,000.
okay, 1.5, what is the rest of it to the left of that lot? Is that also 1.5 acre zoning? Okay. Okay,
It probably is.
all right. So my question is, what is the intent? Like you all asked, and it just doesn't make any sense. You're moving a lot line. We heard from the engineer that eventually they want to put an access road in, which we vehemently fought 2 years ago, went through the courts and finally won at the upper court in Harrisburg. Both the township and myself was against that. The access road was to allow all the Markle properties to get out on Gradyville Road. Everyone was opposed to that. We don't want the extra traffic on Gradyville Road. We have issues with Gradyville Road as it is. I don't know where they're going with this potential subdivide. Are they trying to get less than 1.5 acres? Are they trying to put an access road in? That all concerns me. There's no, without any land development plan, I don't see the point of changing a lot line.
If they wanted to go less than 1.5 acres, they would need zoning, they need a variance or
Exactly.
zoning approval. So they can't get that tonight.
Right, I understood,
And then we're not the zoning hearing.
right.
And that was,
But without something more definitive, I don't see the point of changing a lot line.
Well, right now,
And
and this is
also, I
what we
mean,
have
the
been discussing
the
here.
character of the neighborhood is to have these houses all line up with one another. You start changing lot lines and you're going to change the character of the neighborhood.
But they haven't proposed any layout yet.
Exactly.
So, that's
But
what.
they did propose taking this lot on the end and making it, what, 15 acres? So
Yes.
that's a big change.
If they want to put a single house on the 15 acres, that's something else. But right now, they basically are not proposing anything because moving the lot line doesn't change anything. If they, in the future, and that's what we have been discussing here this evening, if in the future they want to develop anything, they will have to come back in front of us and.
I understand, but
with plan,
why
but
even
then-
consider any of this without a land development plan?
This is their issue. So if they want to move the lot line, an interior lot line, I mean, they're
Well-
not making any physical change.
I think it would be nice to see a land development plan.
We'd
And I
like
think-
to.
And I think the planning commission feels the same way.
I mean, you're not proposing anything we probably all would like to see. I mean, I made a comment earlier, to some degree, they can divide their lot and say, I'm giving one side to my daughter and one to my son, and I like my daughter better, so she's getting the bigger one.
with all the wetlands.
With the wetlands.
One gets the wetlands and one gets the steep.
Right, so to some degree, I mean, people do that. They subdivide and they give it to their children, their grandchildren, whatever, and we do try and look very closely to make sure we don't subdivide into a situation that's bad. So as I said, we don't want to subdivide into a hardship in which someone then seeks a zoning variance because we let them create a lot that doesn't work. So we're very careful about that.
I just see where all this is all going, and it's not hard to see it. They want to subdivide, they want to get smaller lots, and they want to get an access road on the Gradyville Road. And it's
They're
all
not
gonna,
yet
it's all
proposing
gonna
anything.
impact the demographics on Gradyville Road, the traffic patterns and everything else, and it's gonna become more dangerous than what it is. And I'm opposed to that. Thank you.
I understand.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Wait, let's have everybody else speak.
Yeah, there is some more. Miles.
I just, before we adjourn, I just want to ask for the two waivers that were mentioned.
We'll circle.
For the two waivers that were mentioned in Eric's letter, one is for preliminary final, and the other one has to do with the scale.
We'll circle back.
Okay.
Name and address, please.
Francie Stratton, 3840 Gradyville Road. And I just want to reiterate some of the things that other gentleman said, that if just going into this, and you mentioned, Paul, the word trust. And I think that's a big piece of this. And just not knowing what they're planning to do is a big problem. They quote unquote said they don't have a finalized plan. And so there's no transparency here about a road that needs to go in that would, that they've been wanting to do. That's one piece. Also, the mention of the wetlands is a concern. Also, moving the lot land, the lot line, and not talking about dividing it into a situation that we don't want to get ourselves into. You've all said that, and so that's what this would do. I also want to mention that the maps that they're using aren't accurate because they don't have the right owners on there. So just to tell you that, because we're one of the neighboring ones and they don't have that right. And not to mention the roads, the clear cutting, the things that we know that they're planning to, want to do in the future. And I just don't want us to set up some situation that we've backed ourselves into and then can't get out of.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Can you? Let me, I'm looking at the review letter from the 20th. Those frontage requirements are identified on the table as 150 feet, whereas the minimum frontage requirement is 175. Can we,
Eric is correct. That's what we'll comply.
and is that so all the way across, there's like a bend halfway through there's an inflection? So will that change or?
I'll just clarify that it's
Or
actually
is it just
it's
a
more just
marking?
a textual on the zoning data table. They just have an incorrect number. The actual frontage is like
The
400
drawing is
feet
fine,
at some
just
feet.
the
yeah.
table's not right.
Correct.
The lot frontage on that lot's many hundreds of feet.
Yes.
We just made a mistake in the table.
No, that's fine. I just trying to make sure we don't have an issue with the drawing.
And the properties are owned by the same
Yes,
party?
yes, they are. They're actually separate tax parcels right now. There are two separate tax parcels owned by the same party.
And
Is the party a private citizen or an LLC? What's the structure of the ownership?
It's an entity. It's a partnership.
and there'll be a new meets and bounds description for the parcel, for both, actually.
Yes.
Correct. I mean, everything's in the letter is a will comply. And the two waivers he calls out that I mentioned, we're requesting those two waivers.
I'm looking for the waivers. Which number is the waivers?
Number 4 is for preliminary final,
Yes.
148-12, and
Yeah.
number 5 is 148.22.
Oh, the scale on the drawings.
Scale.
Yeah.
Okay.
So move.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I will move that we recommend the approval as a preliminary and final plan for the subdivision of the properties located along Gradyville Road, and I believe the larger lot does not have an address.
Correct.
Correct.
But the adjacent lot presently is 3730 Gradyville Road. And the request is to take portion of the property along 0 Gradyville Road, which is presently just under 3 million square feet. And the road, the property at 3730 Gradyville Road is approximately 120,000 square feet. So that the successor lot of 3730 Gradyville Road will then be 828,651 square feet. Subject to the conditions and requirements outlined in the Pannoni Engineering Letter dated September 20, 2024, which seeks to, including the two waivers that were requested, one pertaining to section 172.29B related to the frontage requirements, and the second
That one is not a waiver. We're just going to comply with the.
comply with that.
Yes.
And the second waiver was the scale waiver. Isn't that just a correction?
No, it's to allow a different scale than the ordinance requires. I think we did 1 inch equals 100 feet. And Eric said that that was
One to-
reasonable.
1 inch to 50 feet is the code. So they just want to be able to,
Scale it down?
If you want, you can make 1 to 10.
That's what it says.
yeah,
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
So bottom line, I'm recommending that we make the recommendation to approve this as a preliminary and final land development plan to allow for the change of the lot line. That's all there is, and I guess we'll see what comes next.
do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
There's your two lots.
Thank
There
you
you
very
go.
much.
See you
So,
next
We're
time.
recommending the two
Yeah.
lots.
I understand.
There's nothing to oppose it.
Yeah.
Put himself in a box. Did he just put himself in a box?
Oh, now the historic stuff.
Yeah.
We'll get to. This one.
Next up, we have the historic properties, class 2 resource. Assume there's one party doing all of them.
Kathy Cavalier, Historic Commission, 313 Oak Hill Lane. Yeah, there's 5, and I hope you received the packet with all 5, but they are up there highlighted if you need to know any of them. And I'm not sure what order.
Actually, yes.
It starts with
Three.
6 Boot Road.
But you know what? Why don't I start with the one whose homeowner is here? That would be Boot Road, if that's okay. So I can summarize them all in a
You could look
quick.
in-
All the owners signed off on these. There's 5 of them.
That, of course, is the most important.
And I know, although the other 2 did make it. They needed to meet at least one of the 10 criteria. All of them met at least 3 or more. And they are listed on there and they're checked off.
And the threshold for compliance is 3, 4?
1
Oh,
or more. Most, all the ones that we ever put through, you basically qualify with more than 1. And Mr. Anderson is here, he's 6 Boot Road. And if you're not familiar with that,
and who's the applicant? I see applicant signature.
applicants will be all the homeowners.
And so the
They
homeowner,
signed off with me, but they signed, I went personally to each one of them and they signed.
okay,
And all
So-
the homeowners agree to apply?
Even though that's not a prerequisite, yes, they did.
Well, it perhaps it is not a prerequisite.
No,
It is
it isn't.
important.
Yes. Pardon?
It is important, though.
Sometimes it's important, but as I pointed out, the other 2 that did not, they did get passed and placed into the ordinance. So that is not always a prerequisite.
As long as they don't object.
They did object and you denied them, yes. But the supervisors passed them. So yes, it's not a prerequisite in our ordinance that the homeowner, or I would say it's not even homeowner in some of those cases, developer, owner. Generally, any objection is from someone who purchases a property for other
reasons. So
Can
it's
you
not the
put the-
homeowner. These are all homeowners,
Can you put the code on the screen?
which,
That's something you can do?
that you can click on each one.
I'm just curious about the code, that's all.
I have it.
I mean, oh, okay.
I have
It was a while ago since we've seen it.
ordinance 2021-03, correct?
Yes, I have the copy. Did you, some piece you want to know?
What would you like to?
Want to see the language on the owner cooperation or lack thereof?
I can assure you, I memorized this.
I'm
ordinance.
guessing you can, since you're here and, you know, you've kind of been through the township.
I helped,
working.
yeah, I helped write it with
Yeah,
letters,
but you,
yeah.
you know,
So, yeah, I do know.
people there are taking a look at it, I just,
Sure.
For the purpose though of these 5 applications.
Yes.
Each of the applications have been brought by the property owner.
Yes,
They've been signed off by the property owner.
yes,
And each of the property owners are in favor of having their properties designated as a class 2 resource in this township.
correct.
And with that, I'm satisfied. I mean, that.
right.
that
You
checks
would
the
be.
box.
They signed something?
These are easy
Yes,
ones.
they,
Yeah, they-
each of them
If you
signed
look
the
at the last
application.
page, the,
Yeah, but
that signature.
Yeah, trust me on this, their signatures are there, yeah.
Yeah, I certainly am not gonna.
I didn't
Not maybe
understand.
not.
I didn't understand. You said that 2 homeowners objected, so.
That was the last-
That the last two
The
that
last
you
time.
heard, the last 2 properties,
Last
the
time,
James Price House
Oh,
and
prior
the West
meeting.
Chester Pike property, yes.
Oh, yes,
yeah.
completely different.
And now
I
they're
saw
in the
different
ordinance.
signatures on every application, so I wondered.
Well, if they sign, I don't have.
So do we,
Yeah, unless you have a specific historic question on its
Nope.
relevance, I mean, they all qualify.
Oh, and they all appear to deservedly qualify. I think that
Yeah.
if you go through the applications and the supporting information that's attached, you can understand the historic significance
Yes,
of each of the properties.
all of them, these are quite historic, yeah.
So with that being said, I do not have a problem recommending that each of these 5 properties, and we can list them out, 6 Boot Road, 307 Earles Lane, 3523 Caley Road, 4111 Goshen Road, and 4727 Mill Hollow Lane, that this commission recommend that each of those properties be considered a class 2 resource under the historic preservation ordinance of the township.
all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? All set?
Good, thank you.
What's name? I think it's related to traffic.
There's a lot of spars.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn, Mr.
Second.
Chairman.
Do we have a comprehensive plan?
I don't think so. I don't think
Okay.
Andy?
nothing I know about.
Yeah, we're done, yeah.